Marcus Davis had climbed from nothing to build a successful consulting firm, but he never forgot where he came from. Those lean years still lived in his bones. That was why, as he sat with his 7-year-old daughter Lily at Riverside Bistro, he noticed them immediately. A young woman in a faded blue dress and a small girl with tangled blonde curls standing at the hostess stand. The woman studied the menu with an expression he recognized all too well. Someone calculating every dollar, weighing survival against dignity. Then the little girl's eyes found Lily's plate, loaded with golden chicken tenders and fries. Her small hands gripped the table's edge, and the hunger in that gaze was so raw it made Marcus's chest tighten. "Daddy, why is that little girl looking at my food?" Lily whispered. "Maybe she's just curious. Sweetheart." But he knew better. He had worn that same expression once, standing outside a bakery with baby Lily, counting coins that would not be enough. Across the restaurant, the woman named Sarah spoke to the waiter in a soft voice, pointing to the cheapest item on the menu. When he returned, Sarah opened her purse, hands shaking as she counted bills and change. The waiter leaned down. Sarah's shoulders hunched. She stood abruptly, took Emma's hand, and began walking toward the door. But Emma turned back once, her eyes finding Lily's plate again. Something inside Marcus broke open. "Stay here, honey." He moved quickly through the restaurant, reaching the entrance just as Sarah pushed open the door. "Excuse me, wait please." Sarah froze. When she looked back, her eyes were guarded, cold. The eyes of someone who had learned to expect the worst from strangers. "I thought maybe you and your daughter might like to join us for lunch. We have plenty." "No." Sharp and final. "We're fine. I didn't mean to offend. I said no. We don't need your charity." Something like pain flashed in Sarah's eyes. Then she turned away, pulling Emma with her, and walked out. Marcus stood there feeling helpless. He returned to Lily, who waited with worried eyes. "Is the little girl okay, Daddy?" "I hope so, sweetheart." As he watched them walk down the sidewalk, Marcus felt the weight settle into his chest. He had seen something in Sarah's eyes that went beyond the immediate crisis. Someone who had been betrayed by kindness before, who learned that help always came with strings attached. He knew that look. He had seen it in his own mirror once, before someone showed him genuine compassion existed. That turning point was what built everything he now had. A need to pay forward what was once given to him stirred inside. When they left an hour later, Lily tugged his hand. "They were really hungry, Daddy." Marcus knelt to her level. "You're right. Sometimes, people who are struggling need help. But sometimes, they're scared to accept it." Why? Because sometimes people who offer help want something back. That can hurt people, make them not trust anyone. Then how can you help them? It was the question he had been asking himself. He thought about the restaurant owner named George, who had given Marcus a dishwashing job while he carried baby Lily. George had not offered charity. He had offered respect, treating Marcus like a man capable of building his own future. That distinction made all the difference. Maybe that was the answer. Not a handout, but opportunity. Marcus could use another assistant. The question was how to offer employment without pressure. Over the next days, he made himself present in spaces where someone in Sarah's situation might be. It was Thursday, nearly a week later, that he saw them again at Riverside Park. Emma was on the swings, blonde curls flying. Sarah sat on a bench, eyes never leaving her daughter. When Emma ran to her mother, breathless and smiling, Sarah's face transformed into pure love. Marcus sat on a distant bench, giving space. Sarah noticed him immediately, her back stiffening. He did not look up, simply sat there, giving her time to decide if he was a threat. Over 2 weeks, it happened again and again. Sometimes they were there, sometimes not. When they were, Marcus kept distance. Slowly, the space between benches closed. One day 15 feet, then 10. Then, on a warm October afternoon, she sat on the other end of his bench. Neither spoke. Emma played. Marcus read. Sarah sketched. They sat for half an hour in companionable silence. Emma finally broke it. "Mama, is that the man from the restaurant?" "Yes, but we don't bother people." "I'm not bothering." Emma turned to Marcus. "Do you come here a lot?" "I do. My daughter goes to school across the street." "Your daughter with the chicken tenders? I'm Emma." "Her name is Lily. She loves swings, too." "My mama pushes me high, but not too high because she worries." "That's what good mamas do. They worry because they love you." "Emma, come here," Sarah said firmly. She put an arm around her daughter, both loving and territorial. She looked at Marcus directly for the first time. "I appreciate that you've been respectful, not pushing, but I need you to understand something. I can't accept help from people. I've made that mistake before, and it cost me everything." Marcus set his book down, giving her full attention. He did not speak, just waited. Sarah looked at Emma, smoothing her daughter's curls with tenderness that made Marcus's chest ache. Then she began to speak, her voice low and careful. 2 years ago, Emma's father left. Just walked out one morning and never came back. No explanation, no goodbye, nothing. She said it matter-of-factly, but Marcus could hear the old wound beneath the words. I had been staying home with Emma, so I had no recent work experience, no references. I applied everywhere, but nobody wanted to hire someone who had been out of the workforce that long. We were going to lose our apartment. I was desperate. She paused, her hand stilling on Emma's hair. Emma leaned against her mother's side, quiet and attentive in that way children become when they sense the gravity of adult conversations. Then I met a man. Richard. Sarah's mouth twisted around the name as if it tasted bitter. He owned several businesses, seemed successful and kind. He offered me a job, good pay, flexible hours so I could be with Emma. It seemed like a miracle, like maybe someone up there was finally looking out for us. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. He was looking out for us, all right, just not in the way I thought. At first, everything was fine. The job was real, the paychecks cleared. But then he started asking for things. Small things at first. Work late one evening, have dinner with a client, wear this dress instead of that one. Every request came with a reminder of how much he had done for me, how grateful I should be. Her voice had gone flat now, emotionless, the way people speak when the pain is too large to feel all at once. When I started saying no, he changed. The kindness disappeared. He said I owed him. Said he had taken a risk, hiring someone like me. And if I wanted to keep my job, I needed to show my appreciation. Emma's small hand found her mother's, and Sarah gripped it tightly, drawing strength from that connection. I quit. Walked out that same day. But Richard was not the kind of man who accepted being told no. He spread rumors, called every place I applied to, made sure nobody in his network would hire me. We lost the apartment anyway. Spent 4 months in a shelter before I found work at a laundromat, under the table, cash only. The pay is terrible, and it is not enough. But at least I do not owe anyone anything. She looked up at Marcus, eyes bright with tears. So when you offered help, when you kept showing up, I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for you to tell me what you really want. Because that's how it works. Nobody helps for free. There's always a price. The words hung heavy between them. Marcus felt the full weight of what Sarah had revealed, the courage it took to be this vulnerable. I'm sorry that happened to you. I understand why you wouldn't want to take that risk again. He paused. I'm not going to tell you I'm different. Words are cheap. Richard probably said all the right things too. Sarah's expression flickered with surprise. but I want you to know something about me. 10 years ago, I was where you are. Single father, no job, sleeping in my car with my baby daughter because I could not afford rent. I was terrified every single day that someone would see us, that they would take Lily away because I could not provide for her properly. He paused, letting the vulnerability of that confession settle between them. Her eyes widened, reassessing this man in his pressed shirt and expensive watch, trying to reconcile that image with the one he was describing. A restaurant owner named George gave me a dishwashing job. He did not just hand me charity. He paid fair wages, treated me with respect, never made me feel I owed him more than honest work. When I was ready to move up, he helped me find a better job. When I started my own business years later, he was my first investor. He did not want equity or repayment. He just said, "When you are in a position to help someone else, do it. That is how you pay me back." Marcus leaned forward. "I'm not George, but I've learned that real help doesn't come with strings. It's not a transaction. It's just one human recognizing another's struggle and having the means to make it easier." Sarah was quiet, fingers braiding Emma's hair. "How do I know you're not just better at the game than Richard?" "You don't. You can't know. Trust has to be built over time through actions, not words. So I'm not asking you to trust me now. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that there might be another way. Another way to what? To move forward, to build something better for Emma. I own a consulting firm. I need someone for administrative work, scheduling, client correspondence. It's a real job with real responsibilities and fair wages. I'm offering you an interview, not charity. You'd have to earn the position by being good at it. But if you are, then it's just employment, a contract, a paycheck, nothing more." Sarah's hands trembled. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because George did it for me. Because I remember what it feels like to be one bad day away from losing everything. Because Emma deserves more than counting pennies. And you deserve to not have to do it." He paused. "And because I believe in paying it forward." For the first time, Sarah's walls cracked slightly. The war happening behind her eyes was visible. Hope fighting caution. Desire to believe warring with a knowledge of how badly belief had hurt before. "I need to think about it." "Of course. Take your time." Marcus pulled out a business card, setting it on the bench. "My office number and email. If you decide you want to interview, just call. If not, that's okay too. Either way, I'll still be here at lunch sometimes, and Emma is welcome to play." He stood, gathering his things. "It was nice to officially meet you both. Emma, those are impressive swing skills." Emma beamed. Sarah managed a small, tentative smile. Marcus walked away, heart pounding harder than any business negotiation. This felt more important, more real. 3 days passed with no call. On the 4th day, his office phone rang. Sarah's voice came through, careful and formal. "Mr. Davis, this is Sarah Mitchell. We met at the park. I'd like to schedule an interview if the position is still available." "It is. When would work for you?" Monday came. Sarah showed up 15 minutes early, wearing a carefully pressed dress, her resume printed on slightly yellowed paper. Marcus conducted the interview professionally, asking about skills and experience. Sarah answered thoughtfully, her intelligence evident despite employment gaps. At the end, he offered her the job, not from pity, but because she was genuinely qualified. There's a 3-month probationary period, standard for all new hires. During that time, either of us can terminate with 1 week's notice. After 3 months, it becomes permanent with benefits. Everything is in the contract. I'd encourage you to take it home, read it carefully, maybe have someone look it over. Sarah picked up the contract, scanning with sharp eyes. This is very fair. It's meant to be. I pay employees what they're worth, and treat them with respect. In return, I expect quality work and honesty. That's the extent of it." She looked at him for a long moment, searching for deception. Marcus held her gaze steadily. "I'll start Monday. And thank you. Not for charity, but for the opportunity." "You're welcome. And Sarah, this isn't charity. You're going to earn every dollar. I can be demanding when it comes to quality work." For the first time, she smiled. Small, tentative, but real. "Good. I wouldn't respect you if you weren't." Sarah started the following week. True to his word, Marcus treated her like any other employee. Professional, occasionally demanding, always fair. He did not ask about her personal life. When she made mistakes in those first weeks, he corrected matter-of-factly. When she did excellent work, which was most of the time, he acknowledged it professionally. Slowly, carefully, Sarah began to relax. She arrived on time every day, stayed late when needed, brought quiet competence to everything. Marcus noticed the small changes. Her shoulders gradually lost defensive tension. She began speaking up with ideas instead of just nodding. She started trusting that when he said something, he meant it. The real test came 6 weeks in, on a cold November evening when Marcus was working late in his office. His phone rang, and Sarah's number appeared on the screen. He answered, expecting a work question, but instead heard panic in her voice. The kind of fear only a mother watching her child suffer could understand. "Mr. Davis, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I don't know what else to do." Her words came out in a rush, breathless and frightened. "Emma is sick, really sick. High fever, trouble breathing. I need to take her to the emergency room. But I don't have anyone to watch her tomorrow for work. And I know I just started and shouldn't ask for time off, but Sarah," Marcus interrupted gently. "Stop. Take Emma to the emergency room right now. Don't worry about work. Don't worry about anything except getting her the care she needs." "But the probation period, the contract says—" "I don't care what the contract says. Your daughter is sick. Family comes first, always. We will figure out the work part later. Just go." There was silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment Marcus thought she had hung up. Then he heard her breath hitch, the sound of tears being swallowed down. Relief and gratitude and fear all tangled together in that single, shaky breath. "Okay. Thank you." "Sarah, which hospital?" "County General. It's the closest one." "I'll be there as soon as I can." "No, you don't need. I'm coming." "Not as your boss, just as someone who cares. You shouldn't have to do this alone." He hung up before she could protest further. The drive to County General took 20 minutes in evening traffic. 20 minutes where Marcus's mind was filled with memories of his own nights in emergency rooms with baby Lily. The terror of watching your child struggle to breathe. The helplessness of knowing you cannot fix this yourself. The little girl's face was flushed with fever. Her breathing labored. Sarah was stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances, but her own face was pale with fear. Marcus approached slowly. "How is she?" Sarah looked up, surprise replaced by something like relief. "They think pneumonia. They want to admit her, run tests, start antibiotics." Her voice cracked. "I don't have insurance. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this." Marcus sat beside her. "Let me worry about that." "No, I can't let you do that. That's exactly what I can't do." "Sarah, look at me." He waited until her frightened eyes met his. "This is not a favor. This is not going to put you in my debt. I'm going to pay the hospital bill directly, and you're never going to owe me anything for it. Not gratitude, not loyalty, nothing. Do you understand? Why would you do that?" Tears streamed down her face now. "Why would anyone do that?" "Because Emma is a little girl who needs medical care, and her mother is working hard to build a better life. Because I can afford it, and you can't. Because George once paid my rent for 3 months, when Lily was sick, and he wouldn't let me pay him back either. He said the same thing I'm saying now. This is not a transaction. This is just basic human decency." Sarah shook her head, trembling. "I don't know how to accept this. I don't know how to not feel like I owe you everything." "Then don't accept it for yourself. Accept it for Emma. Because she shouldn't suffer because her mother is too afraid of being hurt again." Marcus softened his voice. "Sarah, I know Richard taught you that kindness is just manipulation, but that's not true. There are good people who help because it's the right thing to do. Not because they want something back. George was one. I'm trying to be one. And someday, when you're in a position to help someone else, you can be one too." Emma stirred, coughing weakly. A nurse appeared and called them back. Sarah stood, still holding her daughter, and looked at Marcus with eyes full of tears and uncertainties and the first fragile shoots of something that might become trust. "Okay. For Emma." Marcus stayed in the hallway where Sarah could see him through the window, a steady presence. He made calls to hospital administration, arranged for bills to be sent to his office, signed forms that made him financially responsible without giving him rights over Sarah's decisions. Emma was admitted with pneumonia. The doctor started IV antibiotics and oxygen, and her breathing began to ease. Sarah sat by her bedside all night. Marcus brought coffee and sandwiches, sat with her during quiet hours, when there was nothing to do but wait and worry. They did not talk much. But in the silence, in the simple act of showing up and staying, something shifted. Sarah began to understand what Marcus had been trying to tell her, that not all help came with hidden costs, that sometimes people just did the right thing because it was right. As dawn light filtered through hospital windows, Emma's fever finally broke. She opened her eyes, saw her mother, and smiled. "Hi, Mama." Sarah burst into tears, pressing her forehead against Emma's hand. "Hi, baby. You scared me." "I'm sorry. Is that man here? The one with the daughter who likes swings?" "Yes, he's here." "That's nice of him." Emma's eyes drifted closed. "He seems like a good person, Mama." "Like you." Sarah looked at Marcus standing near the door. Her face was streaked with tears, eyes red from exhaustion. But when she smiled at him, it was genuine and warm and free from defensive walls. "Thank you. Not just for the bill. For showing up. For staying. For proving that maybe I was wrong about everyone." Marcus smiled back. "You weren't wrong to protect yourself. Richard earned your distrust. I'm just grateful you were willing to give me a chance to earn something different." Emma recovered quickly. After 3 days, she was discharged. Sarah returned to work the following week, and if Marcus noticed she seemed lighter, more open, he did not comment. He simply continued treating her with the same professional respect. But things had changed. Sarah began to smile more, to joke with the office assistant, to bring in homemade cookies. She started joining the team for occasional lunches, hesitantly at first, then with growing comfort. When Marcus offered to adjust her schedule for Emma's school events, she accepted with gratitude instead of suspicion. The 3-month probation ended. Marcus made her position permanent without hesitation. Sarah was the best administrative assistant he had ever had. More than that, she had become a valued team member, someone whose judgment he trusted. 6 months into her employment, on a warm spring afternoon, Sarah knocked on Marcus's office door. "Do you have a minute? I wanted to talk about something personal." "Of course. What's on your mind?" Sarah sat, hands folded. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said in the hospital, about George, and about paying it forward. I've been saving money, and I'm finally in a position where I have a little extra. Not much, but something. And I want to use it to help someone the way you helped me." Marcus felt warmth spread through his chest. "That's wonderful. What did you have in mind? There's a woman at Emma's school, another single mother, struggling just like I was. I've watched her count change in the cafeteria, seen her daughter wearing shoes that are too small. I want to help her, but I don't want to make Richard's mistakes. I don't want her to feel like she owes me. So I'm asking you, how do I help someone without hurting them? Marcus leaned back, considering. You start by offering something concrete and finite. Not open-ended charity, but a specific thing with clear boundaries. Maybe you buy her daughter new shoes and leave them anonymously. Maybe you invite them to dinner without making it feel like rescue. Maybe you let her know you've been where she is, and if she needs someone to talk to who understands, you're there. And if she refuses, then you respect that. You can't force help on someone not ready. But you can plant seeds. You can be a presence that shows her there are people who care without wanting something back. Eventually, if she needs you, she'll know you're there. Sarah nodded slowly. It's harder than I thought. Helping someone well, I mean. There's so much that can go wrong. Yes, but you know what not to do because you've experienced it. That knowledge makes you better equipped than most. You understand the importance of dignity, boundaries, respect. Those are the foundations of real help. She smiled. And Marcus saw the transformation in her face. The haunted look was gone, replaced by quiet confidence. I learned that from you. From the way you treated me even when I didn't trust you. You never made me feel small. You just gave me room to find my own strength. You always had that strength. I just provided opportunity to use it. She stood to leave, then paused. Emma wants to know if Lily would like to come over for a playdate. We have our own apartment now, a real one with 2 bedrooms. Emma has been dying to show it off. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Lily would love that. She's been asking about Emma since that day at the park. Good, because Emma has been asking about her too. Turns out our daughters have excellent taste in friends. Sarah's smile was bright and genuine, just like we do. 2 weeks later, Marcus and Lily arrived at Sarah's apartment for the playdate. It was modest but welcoming, with small touches that spoke of Sarah's efforts to make it home. Fresh flowers on the table, crayon drawings on the refrigerator, matching curtains and throw pillows. It's not much, Sarah said, but it's ours. Actually, ours. I signed a real lease, passed the credit check, everything legal. It's wonderful, Sarah. You should be proud. I am. She set down her coffee. I've been wanting to talk to you about the hospital bill. Marcus started to protest, but she held up a hand. Please, let me finish. I know you said I don't owe you anything, and I understand you meant it. But I've been thinking about what Emma said that night, about you being a good person. She was right, but not just because you paid the bill. You gave me respect and opportunity and space to heal. Those things are worth more than any dollar amount. She pulled out an envelope. This is not payment for the hospital bill. You were right that I can't afford that. But this is something else. It's a donation to the community center where you volunteer, the one that offers free meals. I've been volunteering there on weekends, and I wanted to contribute financially too. It's not a lot, but it's something. And I'm doing it in your name and George's name, because that feels right. Marcus opened the envelope. A check for $500. For someone in Sarah's position, that was significant money, carefully saved and thoughtfully given. His eyes stung. Sarah, this is incredibly generous. It's paying it forward, like you taught me, like George taught you. I can't repay you directly, but I can help others, and I can teach Emma that when we're fortunate enough to have extra, we share it, not because they owe us, but because it's the right thing to do. Marcus stood and pulled Sarah into a hug. She stiffened for just a second, then relaxed, her shoulders shaking with quiet tears. You've come so far. You should be so proud. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe the path would have been harder. But you would have made it, because you're strong and devoted to your daughter. I just helped speed up the timeline." From the bedroom, the girls' laughter rang out. They pulled apart, both wiping their eyes and laughing. "They're going to be good friends," Sarah said. "I think so too. And so are we." "Yes. Friends." I like that. The playdate stretched into dinner, with Sarah making spaghetti and Marcus helping in the kitchen while the girls set the table. It was simple, and comfortable, and normal. The kind of everyday moment Sarah had feared she would never have again. As they sat around the table, Emma and Lily chattering about school and toys, Marcus caught Sarah's eye. She mouthed, "Thank you." He shook his head and mouthed back, "Thank yourself." Because that was the truth. Marcus had opened a door, but Sarah had walked through it. She had chosen to trust again despite every reason not to. She had worked hard and accepted help with grace and turned her pain into wisdom. She had not just survived, she had used her struggles to become someone stronger, someone compassionate, someone who understood the delicate balance between helping and hurting. As evening wound down and they prepared to leave, Emma ran up and hugged Lily goodbye. Then, shyly, she approached Marcus. "Mr. Davis, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Emma." "My mama smiles a lot now. She didn't used to. Did you do something to make her happy?" Marcus knelt to Emma's level. "Your mama made herself happy by being brave and strong, but I'm glad I got to be a small part of her journey." Emma considered this seriously, then nodded. "I think you're a good friend, to my mama and to me." "I think you're a good friend too, Emma, to Lily and to me." She beamed, then ran back to her mother. Sarah stood in the doorway, arm around Emma, watching them walk to the car. The evening air was warm and sweet, carrying the scent of spring flowers and new beginnings. As Marcus drove home, Lily chattered about her new friend, but Marcus's mind was on Sarah, on the journey they had both taken from that first encounter to this moment of genuine friendship. He thought about how close it had all come to never happening. If Sarah had not gone to the park that day, if he had pushed too hard or not been patient enough, if Emma had not gotten sick at exactly the moment when Sarah needed proof of his sincerity. But it had happened, and in happening, it had changed them both. Sarah had learned to trust again, to accept that kindness existed without cost. Marcus had learned the profound responsibility of offering help, the careful balance required to support without controlling, to give without creating obligation. And both had learned what George understood all along, that the greatest gift one person can give another is recognition of their inherent dignity and worth. The legacy continued. Sarah was already helping others, teaching Emma through example that strength comes not from never needing help, but from accepting it with grace and paying it forward. One day, Emma would help someone else, and Lily, watching her father, would do the same. The ripple effect of one man's kindness decades ago was still spreading, touching lives, changing stories, proving that even in a world that could be cruel, there were people who chose compassion. Marcus pulled into his driveway and helped Lily out. As he tucked her into bed that night, she looked up with sleepy eyes. "Daddy, I'm glad you helped Emma and her mama." "Me too. Sweetheart. George would be proud of you." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I hope so, Lily. I know so, because you did what he taught you. You helped them find their own strength. That's the best kind of help." She drifted off, her words echoing in his heart. Later, sitting in his office, he pulled out a photo from his desk drawer. It showed a younger version of himself, gaunt and exhausted, standing next to George outside the restaurant. George's hand was on his shoulder, his smile warm and proud. "I did it, George," Marcus whispered. "I found someone who needed a door opened, and I tried to do it the way you taught me, with respect and patience and no strings attached. Sarah is going to be okay now, more than okay, and maybe someday she'll open a door for someone else, and they'll open another. And your kindness will keep spreading long after either of us are gone." The photo did not answer, but Marcus felt peace settle over him, the feeling of having honored a debt not through repayment, but through imitation. George had given him more than a job or money. He had given him a model for how to be human in the best sense, how to see suffering and respond with compassion instead of judgment, how to help without diminishing, how to give without expecting return. That was the real inheritance, and it was worth more than any fortune. Marcus turned off the light and went to check on Lily. She slept peacefully, her face relaxed and content. This beautiful daughter, who he had once feared he could not provide for, who he had held in the darkness of a car and promised to give a better life. He had kept that promise, but not alone. George had helped, and now Marcus had helped Sarah, and Sarah would help someone else. That was how it worked. That was how broken people became whole, how struggles became strengths, how one small act of kindness could change the trajectory of a life, not through grand gestures or heroic rescues, but through simple, consistent, respectful humanity. Through seeing someone in their darkness and sitting with them until they found their own light. The moon shone through Lily's window. Marcus thought about Emma, probably asleep now in the apartment Sarah had worked so hard to secure. Two little girls who might never have become friends. Two families who might never have connected, all because of a moment of attention when he noticed a small girl staring at a plate of chicken tenders. It had been such a small thing, that moment of noticing. But from small moments, great things could grow. That was the magic of compassion. It multiplied. It compounded. It created more of itself wherever it went. He kissed Lily's forehead and walked to his room, ready for sleep, grateful for the day, hopeful for all days to come. Tomorrow he would go to work, and Sarah would be there with her quiet competence and growing confidence. They would work on projects together, solve problems together, build something valuable together, as colleagues, as friends, as two people who had both known darkness and chosen to create light. And somewhere in the world, George's legacy lived on. In Marcus's kindness, in Sarah's healing, in Emma and Lily's friendship, in every person they would each touch in turn. One man's decision to help a struggling father had created a chain reaction of compassion that would echo through generations. That was the true measure of a life well lived, not in what you accumulated, but in what you gave. Not in what you kept, but in what you passed on. Marcus lay down, closed his eyes, and smiled. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges and opportunities. But tonight, he rested in the knowledge that he had done what George had asked. He had paid it forward. He had helped someone find their strength. And in doing so, he had honored the man who had once helped him find his own. The circle was complete, and the ripple continued to spread.